and welcome. It's Eclectic Kelpie, and this is Adult Colored Glasses, the show where I rewatch media from my childhood satirically and sincerely. And today we are going to be watching Totally Spies, Episode 4, Stuck in the Middle Ages with You. I loved Totally Spies. This was one of my childhood staple essential, it was one of the ones that I was obsessed with. This, Pokemon, and Sailor Moon were my top 3 shows of childhood. I loved this. I played Spies all the time and really got into it. And obviously I'm green today, so very indicative. I was obsessed with Sam, the ginger who was always in green, literally same. So yeah, I really loved this show. I really loved the feminist power that it really instilled into viewers, and it was also cool that it was, they put a lot of time into the visuals and the fashion and having these women be smart and strong and capable, but also being very hyper feminine women as well. If you look at Clover, for example, she's super hyper feminine, but she also is very capable and strong and assertive and able to take care of herself and do the missions and save the world. Same thing with Sam. She's super intelligent and her archetype is being the intellectual one, but then she's also able to be feminine and strong. And same with Alex, she's more of the sporty one, but she's still a feminine woman. So it was such a beautiful show for having those components of women are able to be strong and smart and athletic and fully capable and have so much capacity for balancing everything. Yeah, just having a full balance of every character, every personality component, and also being able to be feminine and beautiful and feel good about yourself and your body and your externalization of having a feminine identity. And there's nothing wrong with that. It was very normalized, very accepted. The early 2000s was very girl power, and I think that this is really time capsuling that push for women and girls to feel comfortable within having femininity, but also being strong and independent and successful and capable. And they weren't the ones who were getting saved, they were the ones who were doing the saving. So I thought that was really beautiful, and I really enjoyed this series. And in true Eclectic Kelpie fashion, I picked the episode. So usually in Adult Colored Glasses we watch episode 1 of season 1, but for this one we're watching episode 4 of season 1 because this is where they time travel back to medieval times, and Clover gets kidnapped and then dressed up as a princess and that sort of thing. So I was we do fantastical media on this channel, and so what better way to do fantastical media within Totally Spies than having them do an episode where they go back in time to be princesses essentially. So yeah, I'm very excited. I really hope this still holds up because I have such fond memories of it. So yeah, but without further ado, let's jump right on in to Totally Spies episode 4, season 1, Stuck in the Middle Ages with You. It was also so cool that they changed outfits. That was so rare in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s for TV shows. They're literally depicted in so many different outfits, which is fantastic. Because if you think about Recess or Class of the Titans and American Dragon Jake Long and all of these other cartoons, they didn't prioritize, this was the one outfit that character was in, and that was it for the entire series, which is fine because they wanted to have that recognizable character that's easily picked out and the design is standard. But I thought that this was so cool that they put time and effort and intention into having these characters reflected in their outfits, and they're all cool and fun and wild and like an expression of who that character is, and so they're utilizing costuming, which is what you would do in like a live action show, but in a cartoon it was so much more rare at the time to have that variety and display of the characters in different attire to reflect their personalities. So it's really cool that they like took the time and energy to not necessarily always reuse assets, because of course like animation takes so much time because they're drawing each individual component of the show as a whole. So to like, this is so much work and effort, and it's just amazing, and I think that it goes a long way, and I really appreciate that they did that. Also, my favorite, I love her. She's just a treat. Sam was the best one. See, they're just so cool. They're just so cool. And I loved all the gadgets and stuff. And also, okay, so we talk a lot about the theme songs, and this one doesn't start with the like compact doing the like ringtone, which is so iconic and so fantastic. But the like theme song is just like this exact, like, it's just so perfectly done. It shows all of the different like gadgets, it shows like what the show is about, and it also is just so fun and upbeat and like such a bop. This one's such a bop. Like, perfection. I love them. They're so good. I didn't realize that this was a Halloween episode. Well, we're only like a couple months late, or like many months early. But like, who doesn't love Halloween? We're gonna enjoy. You know, one of the things though that I don't like about the early 2000s culture and conversation around women and how teenage girls are depicted in this way, and obviously it was true, so it is art reflecting life in the sense of like, yeah, they're absolutely, bullies were a thing and they still are a thing, and people are just awful and mean, but I just hate it. I just hate this like stereotyping and like having the like mean girls, because it's 2026 now. We want to see girls. We want to see people bolstering, like women bolstering up other women and being supportive, and like there's just no need for this. There's no need. And it's just so awful and dumb. But obviously, like, one of the best movies ever made in this genre was Mean Girls. And it's so fun, and it's like it's satirical reflection of like teenage girl culture, because that is what it is. But it's just so unfortunate, and we gotta get rid of that and start treating people with respect, and like instilling that into the next generation of just like treating people with respect. We don't need to be competing with each other. There's too much other stuff going on in the world right now. We don't need to be competing to be like, oh, I'm the coolest girl that ever existed in the whole, like, that. Does it ever mean anything? Don't peak in high school. This is also super cool, but also so terrifying. Could you imagine? This is the worst. This is the actual worst. Because if you think about it, not in the like, oh, we're cool, we get to go be spies and like travel internationally and have really cool like makeup themed and like cute themed like little gadgets and stuff, and it's all really like exciting and fantastical. This is being on call 24/7 for work that you can't say no to. This is indentured servitude. Never having a day off. Like, yeah, you might have a day off, but you don't know that you're having a day off. Like, how would you live your life and manage your life around this practice of you could be pulled away to go to work at any second? I think that would be the worst thing ever. I think that would be a hellscape. A capitalistic hellscape. Although, of course, this is for excitement, but still, I think it's applicable. Like, no thank you. Pre-scheduled work hours, if you will. I love Jerry. He's just a treat. Just a delight. Absolutely iconic. these backpacks and the communicators, absolutely iconic. It was also so cool because they had different ones each episode. So like, oh, the creativity of the art, of like imagination and what you could do, and like turning a lipstick into a laser beam, or like a hairdryer into like a blowtorch. I love it. Sandals that you can like spring into the air. They made Wolverine gloves. They're like, here, have some silk gloves, but we'll make it Wolverine. I love it. And the backpacks are jetpacks. I wish I could have these things. I don't have any like practical application for them. They would just be like fun and cool to have, but like, actually no, a jetpack backpack would be elite. Their cortisol levels must just be through the roof. Because if they're having to, one, they never know when they're getting called into work. They don't even commute to work or get a phone call to be like, oh, hey, we need you in the office. They're just like teleported to the office. So that's stressful. You're just like, all of a sudden the floor opens up and you shoot down through a slide to your workplace. That's crazy. And then this kind of stuff happens where they like get closed into a pod and jet fueled into the air. Like, this would... I don't think there's enough money. This is like hazard pay. This is like, you need to have so much therapy bills, extended health coverage, accidental death and dismemberment insurance. This is crazy, actually. But they must be very, very, very wealthy teenagers. Science and magic are kind of the same thing, hey? It's just the explanation of where shit comes from. Because sci-fi, like science fiction, this is like fantasy also, kind of. Like modern fantasy. Because if you're saying that you can like invent a portal to take you to like these places, and you're just like, oh, I like figured it out based on like science, versus like, ooh, I just cast like a magic spell, teleportation, woo, like, it's kind of the same thing. It's just where you attribute the source. So is magic real? Perhaps. I want to be teleported to a castle. This is so beautiful. Also, I think the art style is fantastic. I know every single one of these episodes, like, I always talk about landscapes and background and the art that like is in the background of the things, but like, look at this. Look at this. It's beautiful. There's little mushrooms on the trees. The attention to detail. I love it. This is a fantastical and whimsical world that I wouldn't go home. This is what I want in my real life. You'd never see me again. I wouldn't want to go back. Obviously, these girls are like modern girls. They want to go to the mall and, you know, whatever, stereotypical teenage girl stuff. Because, of course, this was still a stereotypical teenage girl show. But send me to a fantastical medieval fantasy world. It's just so pretty. It's perfect. This is a really cool design for the villain. Side point. Their technology can't be running on, like, Wi-Fi or, like, anything that would need, like, a connection to something if they had traveled back to the Middle Ages. There's no way. Like, all of their stuff, I don't know how that shit works. Again, I think science is magic. It's just a different attribution to where the source is. It's so cool they had FaceTime before they had FaceTime. Oh, she's talking about Dungeons and Dragons. I love that. I didn't ever clock that, but I love D&D. Oh, that's very on brand. It all makes sense. It's all coming together. Minor inconsistency with this is that, like, clearly the guards know about the science, and maybe they're not, like, able to think about it as in science, and they're like, oh, it's magic and this guy is like a magical knight kind of a thing. But, like, I don't know, I feel like, why would they be yelling like, oh, witch, at the women who are like not even doing anything, but then like be super accepted? Ugh, it's because it's a man. It's because it's the men and women. Like, anything that a woman does, she's a witch. Anything a man does, oh my gosh, it's divine providence. It really has been going on for that long, hasn't it? This whole plot is literally a book talk plot, I feel. like this evil knight. He's captured the heroine. They're like having the banter. It's giving enemies to lovers. I feel like in any other world context, this is a book talk dream. The banter, the morally gray, like, oh, I'm gonna take over the kingdom, you're gonna be my queen. She's like, no, obviously not. This is book talk. See, and the pipeline was always there. It was so very easy to jump from one to the next. It goes. It makes sense. It's all coming together. Literally a trope. Only one horse. It's literally a 1-for-1. The like implications also for this are kind of crazy, because if you went back in time, I feel like that this would be insane, right? Because if you went back in time and you're like, okay, I'm gonna like establish like my family as like King of England, right? That's kind of the premise. And then you like set up that throne and then did, oh my god, this is actually crazy. Okay, so if you like went back in time, you set up the throne, you established your kingdom and your monarchy and dominance and all that stuff, and then you like went a little bit more into the future, and then you like reinforced it and you did it again, and then made sure that you had like a bloodline that continued on your like family's rulership, and then you like teleported again a little bit more into the future, and then again and again and again until your family line like caught up to present day that you established was like gonna be the ruler of either a country, or like his grandiosity, he's taken over the world. But like you could do that. That would be crazy. Because if you like established, oh, here's my bloodline, here's the ownership of this like country or whatever, and then had that technology to continue to do that throughout history, you also have a knowledge of history, so you'd be able to like manipulate the world state as you went along. And then yeah, that would be crazy. What I'm saying is this could work if there was no intervention and no opposing forces to be able to like negate the bad wrongdoing of you asserting like a bloodline into history and then being like the king of all of the world. Like you could do it. Maybe we don't need all technology. Maybe this is a lesson. Maybe we get rid of AI, and maybe we don't have harmful technology within the world. Maybe we get rid of mass destructive weapons. Maybe we do that. And then maybe we live peacefully and happily and in balance with the rest of humanity in the world. Maybe we don't do these kinds of behaviors. I don't know. Let's maybe not take over other countries and try to assert ourselves as like kings or presidents or whatever, you know. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe we learn. This is even book talky because it's the blonde guy and the like dark haired guy, although this is very invert, because if you think about like classic, like Tamlin's blonde, Rhysand has like dark hair, and we all know who the better choice is, and this is inverted here. But just this whole setup is it's very on the nose for the pipeline. I kind of want to do like a separate thing. I said this in the Winx Club episode as well, where there's like a fairy to fairy pipeline, or like a fairy to fae pipeline, where like this media that we all observed during formative developmental years had lasting impact on us as people now. Which is actually very true. It definitely did. But like, I feel like it's a very easy pipeline to observe. Okay, obviously we don't like imprisonment. Forced situation, no thank you. But look at her dress. I like it. It's all very beautiful. I kind of want the backstory of this guy. Oh, did they ever say his name? I don't think so. Just like the like evil knight. I don't think they ever said his name. Well, that's crazy. Okay, well anyways, I guess it's not important. I guess his name is irrelevant, but whatever. I want to know the backstory of him, like, going to the Middle Ages and being like, hey, to all of these, like, guards and stuff. Because these guys are from here, medieval England. They're not from the future that came back with him. How did he go how did he even speak their language? The language, English is not the same English has developed into modern day English, but English in the like 1100s was not the same. The 12th century English is not the same as now English. How did he communicate with them? And how did he convince these ultra religious people of this endeavor that didn't really benefit them in the long run? Because if he's eventually going back to the future and he's gonna like take all this money from this treasury to be like a billionaire, which you probably would because it's historical artifacts, and if you sell historical artifacts, like you could probably make like a lot of money, especially if they're like in pristine condition, and they would be because he would be taking them back from the exact moment that they were created. So that's kind of crazy. I want to know like how he convinced these guys to go along with this plan. How, like, what tactics. I obviously it's not that deep because the show didn't probably think about all of these things, but I'm thinking about all these things, and I want to know that backstory. I want a short story fanfiction situation of this episode of how this guy was able to convince these people to participate in his shenanigans. I think that would be very interesting. There's no Wi-Fi. There was no satellites. There was no connection to the ability to have... Obviously, the show is sci-fi. Suspension of disbelief. We must. However, this is crazy because none of this stuff would work. None of the, unless you brought, I don't know. My technology knowledge is not this deep. But one would assume that if you took even, the most basic electronic device back to the Middle Ages, it wouldn't work. So how? I don't even think you could hotspot yourself. I don't think this would work. I don't think this is very accurate. Okay, but look at all of their fun outfits. This is so Ren Fair. I want a big suit of armor. Look at how cool they are. I love it. There's 4 minutes and 44 seconds left. That's really funny that was exactly, wow. 4 minutes and 44 seconds left of this episode, and they only just changed into their, spy attire, which I think is iconic and classic, and I love their, traditional spy bodysuits. But, that was a lot. That was almost a full episode. I was kind of thinking to myself, do they even wear their iconic suits in this episode? I don't know. But yeah, this is super fun. Oh, yes. Iconic. Delightful. Yeah, you know what's kind of crazy is all of the implications of going back and messing around, because even geographically, it's such a butterfly effect, and I think it is that deep when it comes to the we're gonna travel back in time mentality, or we're gonna go and mess around with the past mentality, because every little thing I think matters. They've just changed the geography by breaking the rock, this mountainous craggy rock, and burning down the village. So I feel like the solution to time travel fuckery is always going to be go back in time to just before the person who was traveling back in time messed up the thing. It's very Avengers Endgame to go back to stop the shenanigans from happening before they happen, because if you don't stop the shenanigans before it happens, then it will have happened, which means that the destruction of the progression of history is going to be altered regardless, because even something like this, you've changed the geography of the world, and I know that this is it's not changing the geography of the world, it's only it's only destroying one rock, but you don't know what that rock turned into. This is 1100 AD is what they said. That's thousands and thousands of years. That means that is a part of some grander geography of something in England. Who knows? And now it's messed up. So the solution is always to go back to before. Because I don't think that, thwarting somebody afterwards is going to make the difference if they've already done the fuckery. Unless you operate in the mentality that it is a closed, fated timeline where no matter what you did was always going to circle back to being what you had done. Meaning, that rock's geography was always going to get destroyed because this was always going to happen, and so it just caught up to the present. In 1180, that rock had always been blown up, and so the geography of the world isn't actually altered to what it ended up being because the rock always got broken. This is why it gets too complicated. It's super fucking messy. And who even knows? Look at how epic they are. I absolutely love them. This show was so good. Edna Mode was right. Like she said, no capes. No capes, they thwart you. Occupational hazard. This would be such goals. To be able to, like, take an authentic piece of armor from the Middle Ages and then bring it home and then go to Ren Fair. A+. Cute! What a beautiful finale. And that's it. See, but this is what I'm saying. This is the worst on-call situation that you could ever... You're just sitting on a bench somewhere and all of a sudden you're shooting through a floor and you're going to work. Insane. But, yeah, that was... that was it! Alright, and that was Totally Spies. Episode 4 of Season 1, Stuck in the Middle Ages with You. I feel like, yeah, not all of the episodes are in, like, a fantastical setting, like this one is. But I feel like it's so fun. It's so cute. It's such a beautiful show. It's so silly, and it doesn't take itself so seriously, but it also, again, is such a good example of, like, empowering young women and having this, like, ultra feminine but also, like, ultra capable and competent and, like, all of these fantastic things that, you know, were able to be instilled and then taken with me. Like, you're growing up learning that you can be anything. It's kind of like Barbie also. Like, all the Barbie stuff is growing up, like, you can be anything. Here's all of the options in the whole world, and you can have that femininity and also have that empowerment. Like, it's everything everywhere all at once, essentially. But yeah, this was so fun. I think this was a 5 out of 5. Some of the humor components are not really my thing. Like, it's very early 2000s verbiage of, like, you know, they're like Beverly Hills girls. It's very stereotypical within that framework, but, like, nah, 5 out of 5. Like, it's so cute. It's so fun. I love it. The nostalgia is there, but I think it also still holds up with, like, the animation style is still beautiful. The storytelling is really fun. Like, yeah, it's still a kid's show, so it's not going to be as deep as, like, what I was making it in terms of, like, backstory for certain things, especially because it's a villain of the week kind of a show. Like, there's not really an overarching... There is... actually, I don't think there is, like, an overarching plot, really, within this show. It's always a villain of the week kind of a situation. So within that framework, they're not going to spend a lot of time establishing a villain that's literally going to be there for 20 minutes and then we'll never see him again. So yeah, but honestly, so fun. What a treat. If you enjoyed this episode, consider giving a like and subscribing to continue joining us on all of our adventures. But with that, thank you all so much for watching. Everything with love, and we'll see you next time in the treasure trove. Bye.